Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे ओम नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंखुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So, till the last session, we discussed up to shloka number 16 of the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Up till there, Krishna was primarily speaking about, first of all, in the first two shlokas, Arjuna had a confusion, like it is an equivocal instruction by Krishna. करके. So he was confused what to follow, what not to follow, because because as we also experience, the second chapter is very much jumbled up, and there are a lot of things, so it can be confusing for somebody who is very sincere. Then after that, Krishna explains how nishkama karma yoga is. Like from verse number 3 to 9, Krishna discusses about nishkama karma yoga, and there he says that how it is better not to renounce your work, like on the basis of temporary feelings and all those things. Like you are not completely purified, and if you just renounce everything and go, it will still be there inside you. So all those things he discussed there, and he was giving an analogy of there is jnana yoga and there is karma yoga, and how you have to purify your karma. All those things he spoke there, Krishna, about purification and all those things, how you must render your prescribed duty without any desire for your material sense gratification. Then from shloka number 10 to 16, he speaks about how you can elevate yourself to nishkama karma, beginning from karma kanda, right? Like we all are struggling with this problem, and it is very easy to say कि कर्म करो, कर्म के फल की इच्छा ना करो. Like you see many people nowadays, it is a very common dialogue when you speak about Gita. People will say, yeah, I know Gita, I know Gita, कर्म करो, कर्म फल की इच्छा ना करो. This they speak, but is it practical? That is the question. See, it is practical for sure, that's why Krishna is speaking, but it is not practical just merely by you know merely by knowing this, that Krishna spoke so and so. It is practical when we gradually develop that consciousness. That consciousness is important. Else we may get entangled very easily, because that is what we are practicing since lifetimes. So we'll get entangled very easily. So if you really want to get to that stage where you do your karmas without being entangled to the results, you have to gradually come to that level. So for gradually coming to that level, Krishna from shloka number 10 to 16, he is telling how you can elevate yourself from karma kanda section of the Vedas to karma yoga, that is nishkama karma yoga. And there he elaborately speaks about yagyas and all those things, like how Brahmaji, after creation, he told that you all be thou happy by performing this yajna, and when you please the demigods, they'll give you the rain, and from that you will get food and all those things. It was described there. Then Krishna ultimately he says that you should, everything that you do, you should do in a spirit of yajna. You should offer that to me. And then we discussed about the yajna cycle, like how the supreme lord, from him Vedas come, and from Vedas prescribed duties we get the prescribed duties. Then we perform the prescribed duties and yajnas, and by doing so the devatas and all these people are pleased, and they'll give us whatever is necessary for us. And when we get that, we must not just selfishly enjoy it, but we have to first offer it. And after offering it, when we accept, it becomes prasad. And by having prasad, purity comes. And once we are purified, once purity comes, after that you gradually elevate to spiritual consciousness. So that was the whole system. So yes, and in the last shloka, Krishna told how it is sinful life without sacrifice. If you are not doing sacrifices and eating, you are variably eating sin. That is what Krishna was saying. Now, from 17th shloka to 35th shloka that we are going to discuss today, Nishkama Karma Yoga, to set the right example, is actually discussed. Okay. So, Krishna so far discussed about Nishkama Karma Yoga and how to come to that platform, from fruitive activities to that platform, that is described there. Now, from here onwards, we are going to see how, uh, you know, an example is set by doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, like that, right? Before getting into the session, today we'll discuss three stories, three khatas from Ramayana. We'll discuss, uh, which will, which you can, which goes parallelly with whatever we are going to discuss today. Okay. The first sloka, we'll go by order. The first story is Ravana kidnapping Mother Sita. That is the first katha that we are going to describe today. So one fine day, when Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and Hanuman, sorry, not Hanuman, but at this point, only Sri Ram, Lakshman, and Sita Maya, they were in the forest. At that point, one, a she demon, she comes, and she has lusty propensities for Sri Ramachandra now. And she assumes a form which is very beautiful, and she comes to Sri Ramachandra, and she tries to somehow or other seduce him, saying that you are a king, you can keep multiple wives. Anyways, what is this girl capable of? She is so thin and she is nothing compared to me. So and so she was telling about Sita Maya. Actually, this personality is Shurpanakha, and she is very ugly by nature. By you know, if you see her, we will be very much frightened if we see her. She is a she demon after all. But she is now criticizing Sita and telling and keeping proposals before Sri Ramachandra that, let's enjoy and all those things she is saying. And what does Sri Ramachandra say? He also jokingly says that, actually the thing is, I have my wife with me, but my brother Lakshmana is bereft of wife. So if you want to enjoy, you may keep a proposal in front of him. Like that he says. It's jokingly he says that. And she takes it very seriously. And she asks Lakshmana, she proposes to Lakshmana, oh, you are also very handsome, and so let's, it is such a nice place, such nice scenery, and all those things she says. And she approaches Lakshmana. And so much so that after a point of time, she is even ready to kill Sita. She is like speaking about killing Sita because she has that propensity of, lustily enjoying. That's why. And we all know the story afterwards, what happens. Like she is insulted and her nose are chopped off and she is being sent back. So when she goes back, she is very much furious, like how these mendicants did this to me. Okay, the demons have this nature. Even if the supreme lord himself comes and stands in front of them and speaks to them, they'll never recognize. Just like Duryodhana never recognized the divinity of Krishna, or Shishupal never recognized the divinity of Krishna. Kamsa, uh, the same thing. So the demons never recognize. Even Ravana never recognized. It is said that, people, nowadays there is a trend of people imitating Ravana. They want to become like Ravana. They don't want to become like Sri Ramachandra. They want to become Ravana. They say that इतना परम ज्ञानी था, सब कुछ जानता था, ये किया वो किया. जो लोग को शास्त्र का कोई ज्ञान नहीं होता, वो लोग ऐसी बातें करते हैं. ऐसी ज्ञान किस काम की, अगर तुम परब्रह्म को नहीं पहचान सकते हो जो सामने आकर खड़ा है और निंदा कर रहे हो. ऐसे व्यक्ति को ज्ञानी कह सकते हैं क्या? ऐसा ज्ञान तो कोई मतलब का नहीं है जिसके अंदर तुम परब्रह्म को नहीं पहचान पा रहे हो जो सामने आकर खड़ा है. एनीवेज, फिर उसके बाद में शी गोज टू रावणा एंड शी कंप्लेन्स एंड शी सेज दैट, ओ माय डियर brother, you know what, I found a very beautiful girl, and when I saw her, I first of all, at the first instance only, I thought ki she is, like, you are the only person who are worthy of her. You deserve her. Why are these mendicants, why is she with these mendicants? You should go and get her. She is very beautiful. And she started, glorifying Sita like anything. Some time back only she was criticizing Sita in front of them. She was blaspheming Krishna, sorry, Sita in front of them. All these things were happening, but now she is glorifying her beauty. She is like that, she is like this, and all those things. And just by hearing, lusty propensities in Ravana started manifesting. Now he wants to enjoy Sita Maya. See? And what does he do? He comes to the forest. He takes an asura with him, and he tells that asura to, become a golden deer and attract them, and they'll come behind you, Rama and Lakshmana. At that point, I'll kidnap this young girl. Her name is Sita. So this is not the first time Ravana is seeing Sita, by the way. Ravana has seen Sita before also, as per Adhyatma Ramayana. When Sita Swayamvar was going on, even Ravana came there and he was defeated. But now, when he is looking at Sita, his lust is increasing. And what does he want to do? He wants to enjoy with Sita. And for that, he wants to take her away from Sri Ramachandra and go. And you all know the story, how he tricked her, like having dress of a sadhu, and he comes and somehow or other he takes her, and on a pushpaka vimana he goes, he flies. When he flies on the pushpaka vimana, at that point, a very old vulture was he was resting at somewhere, and he saw this sight of Sita Maya being kidnapped by Ravana, and he's flying. So this particular vulture, his name is Jatayu, and he's very old, very old. He is practically, he may die at any moment. He's like that in a very old age. And when he sees this sight, at once he gets up and flies, and he goes to Ravana and tells him that this is not right. You're taking her away from Sri Ramachandra. This is wrong. This is not right. You are kidnapping a woman. This is wrong. You leave her, or I'll fight with you. And Ravana is in his, young, very, uh, like he's in a very powerful body and all those things. He is not afraid of Jatayu. And whatever Jatayu, good things Jatayu said, he neglected them. And what did he do? He took out a sword and he started fighting with Jatayu. Jatayu tried very hard. He gave his 100% for this service, and he fought. But at last, Ravana managed to chop off. Uh, yeah. At last, Ravana, he managed to chop off the wings of Jatayu, and Jatayu fell down. Okay, and Jatayu was bleeding. Full. The scene was very bloody, and Ravana took Sita Maya away. At this point, Sri Ramachandra and Lakshmana, they both, they both understand that this was a trick, and they knew it already. That is a different story. How the Sita Mata Ravana captured was Shaya Sita. It comes at some other place, but sticking to our story, now Sri Ramachandra and Lakshmana, they are very anxious and they go in search for Sita. Where did Sita go, and who did what to Sita? At that point, they find out Jatayu, and Jatayu is, like, you can say, practically on the verge of death now, because he is very severely injured and blood is flowing like anything. At that point, Sri Ramachandra comes there, and Jatayu says that, my dear Lord, I have a message for you. This Ravana, he took away Sita Maya, and they were going on a Pushpaka Vimana, and I'm sorry, I'm such a failure that I couldn't protect her, and he chopped off my wings, and you can see where I am right now. You know what? Sri Ramachandra embraces him. He puts him on his lap, and it is said that Sri Ramachandra, when he was on this planet, he is such a personality who would never show his side of godliness that easily. There are only some places where Sri Ramachandra goes out of character and says something which is very godly. Naito, he never does that. He always sticks to the role as a just king and all those things. So at that point, Sri Ramachandra going out of his character, and he says that I am sending you at once to Vaikuntha, like that, to Jatayu. And Jatayu says that, my dear Lord, but there is a good news for you. Now, the constellations are arranged in such a way, like astrologically, the time is such that if somebody is searching for someone, and at this point, at this place, he gets an answer what happened to that person karke, then he will definitely get that person back, or that thing back, whatever he is searching for. This is a very good time. So Jatayu, and after that Jatayu left his body and went back to home, back to Godhead. To Vaikuntha he went. And Sri Ramachandra personally did, Antim Sanskar and all those things of Jatayu, who is just a vulture, you see. But Sri Ramachandra is so Kripalu that he did that. And after that, both of them, Sri Ramachandra and Lakshman, move ahead. Then, skipping to the third story, so many things happen in between. And after that, now the story has come to that point where Hanuman is going to Lanka, okay, in search of Sita Maya. Okay, now we are at that story. I'm skipping all those things in between. Now this is the third story. First story was Ravana kidnapping Sita Maya. Second story was the story of Jatayu, and the third story is this, where uh, Hanuman is now going to Lanka. Now Hanuman is flying towards Lanka, and meanwhile many obstacles are coming in front of him, and he's smashing those obstacles like anything. He's smashing them, finishing them. He's in that like rage and that mode that for Sri Ramachandra he would do anything and everything. And now he has come to Ashoka Vatika. When he comes to Ashoka Vatika and meets Sita Maya, he falls down at her feet, addressing her as mother. Okay, and he gives her the message of Sri Ramachandra, that Sri Ramachandra, we Sri Ramachandra along with the entire army of the Vanara Sena is coming now. And oh Maya, you don't worry. Why? Because I am the most insignificant among the entire Vanar Sena. I am the most insignificant one. But still I managed to get here, right? Which means that the entire Vanar Sena, like within no time, they are going to come here. They are going to kill this Ravana and get you back. So you don't worry. Sri Ramachandra is, yeah, he is sad, no doubt. He is sad, but at the same time, don't lose hope. He is coming. Actually, the thing is, I can take you back now only, right? Hanuman could have took her back at that point itself. But no, Sri Ramachandra would get you back after fighting Ravana. And his Yuga Dharma is that only. So why does the Lord appear? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yoga yoga. So vinashaya cha dushkritam, that should happen. And also Sita Maya is not the only one who is being kidnapped and captured. Ravana's business was only this. He would capture innocent people and torture them like anything. So Sita Maya also wanted this thing ki Sri Ramachandra should come here, fight him and kill him, because there are many people who are like me only here. They should also be rescued. Right. So this thing happens, and Hanumanji, he thinks that you know uh, Ashoka Vatika is the most beautiful place in Sri Lanka, or like Lanka at that point of time. So what does he do? He starts destroying it like anything. He wants to give message to Ravana now, like the time has come, beta, like that. So he starts destroying it somehow or the other. He allows himself to be captured, and when he is captured and took to Ravana, so they use a Brahmastra to bind him, like in ropes. A Brahmastra to bind him. He stands in front of Ravana, and Ravana asks him, "Who are you?" At that point, Hanuman says, "I am servant of Lord Shri Ramachandra, and I have come here with a message," like that. So Ravana is furious by hearing that itself. That you are like you have this audacity coming in front of me. You have that much courage. You have that you are saying you are accepting the truth that I am a messenger of Sri Rama, right? I can kill you and all those things he is speaking. And Hanuman tells the same thing. You know what? I am the most insignificant among his servitors. There is an entire army which comprises of warriors more powerful than me, and they are going to come here. And once they come here, you are going to be killed. Okay? You remember Vali? Like that, Hanumanji asks. So Bali and Ravan actually had a past. One day, Bali actually bound Ravana in his tail, and he smashed him here and there, and he went around the entire world. So Ravana knew that Bali is a very like Bali was someone Ravana could never win over. So Ravana made friendship with Bali after that. So you remember that Bali? Hanumanji asked. He was killed by one shot of Sri Ramachandra. You know Khara and Dushan, right? your own party, Khar and Dushan, with 14,000 demons. They came and attacked Sri Ramachandra, and within moments Sri Ramachandra managed to kill them without even perspiring, single-handedly, not even with Lakshmana alone. He'll come here and he'll destroy you for sure. But you know what? I'll tell you something. You still have time. Okay? You still have time. You surrender. You surrender, he'll give you shelter. I know my Lord, he is very Kripalu. Tulsidas ji also, in his stuti, he says, Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajamana Haran Bhava Bhayadarunam Nava Kanchalochana Kancha Mukhakara Kanchapada Kanjarunam Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajamana. Sri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajamana Harana Bhava Bhayadarunam. So Sri Ramachandra is very Kripalu, he is very merciful. It is even described that Lakshmana and Sita Maya both were, they were fed up with Sri Ramachandra after a point of time. Why? Because Sri Ramachandra would walk entire day in the forest without, like, bereft of footwear, like the footwear he gave to Bharata in Ayodhya, and he is walking in the jungles of Dandakaranya and all without footwear. He don't have any slipper or all those things. He is walking. At that time, because it is a forest, there are pebbles and there are, what do you say, thorns, and all these things are also there. So it pricks Sri Ramachandra's foot, right? At night, now Lakshmana has took this vow that, I am not going to sleep for 14 years. So when Lakshmana looks at Sri Ramachandra's feet, he takes Sri Ramachandra's feet to massage it at night when the Lord is resting. And when he is massaging it, he is seeing that his foot is complete, his feet is completely filled of thorns. And he tries to take it out. At that time, Sri Ramachandra stops him, waking up that no, don't do that. And now, like, one day has gone, 2 days have passed, and now Lakshmana is, kind of upset because of this. And Lakshmana goes and complains to Mother Sita, saying that, Maya, what is this? Like, Bhaiya is not allowing me to take out the thorns from his feet. What is this? I'm not understanding what to do. You only speak to him. What is he doing? So Sita Maya comes and asks Sri Ramachandra, Prabhu, why are you not allowing him to take? Let me take it out. So Sri Ramachandra says, no, don't. And Sita Maya says, ये क्या नाटक लगा के रखा है अभी नया, ये इसमें क्या है अब, ऐसा. And Sri Ramachandra says, somebody who takes shelter of my lotus feet, somebody who takes shelter of my feet, I never neglect them. Even if it is causing pain to me, I am not going to neglect it. If I take these thorns out, who have taken shelter of my feet, and I throw them away, what will my devotees think? You see how much kripa, how much mercy Sri Ramachandra has. He doesn't even take out the nails and the thorns and pebbles which are pricked into his feet, which is giving him pain. That also he is not ready to take out and throw. Why? Because he says that somebody who takes shelter of me, I never leave them. I never leave them. So this is the character of Sri Ramachandra. And Hanumanji says that my Lord is like that. You do one thing, you send Sita Maya back, and along with it, you give me a message that, my dear Sri Ramachandra, sir, I am so sorry. I was, like, my buddhi was infected with something bad, so I was not in Sadbuddhi. I am so sorry that I did so and so act which was not right. Now I surrender unto you. Uh, Please forgive me and take back Mother Sita. And mention Mother Sita. And Ravana becomes furious now. You are telling me to surrender to Sri Rama and give back Sita and call her mother also. Like that you are saying. I'll show you, I'll teach you something. And at this point, Hanumanji is, he's coiled up with the Brahmastra. And what does Hanumanji do? He just shakes his body. He just and breaks the Brahmastra. And Ravana is shocked now. How can somebody in this Brahmanda break Brahmastra, which is so powerful? And Hanumanji says that I can, this is not anything very big. I said, though I respect Brahmaji, that's why I allowed it to bind me, right? And he enlongs his tail, and he starts coiling up the tail and sits above his tail. Now Ravana's asana is down, and Hanumanji is sitting over his tail, and he is like looking downwards to Ravana and saying, "You deserve this only." Right, you don't deserve much respect. I was just delivering the message, that's why. So I'll sit here and tell you, you listen carefully. Like that, Ravana says, sorry, Hanuman says. And Ravana is very furious, and then the incident of Lanka Dahan happens. Like Hanumanji's tail is been burnt, and he destroys the entire Lanka only, like that. So, yes, now the three stories we discussed, we will extract values from it. And now, first of all, we'll go into the shlokas, and then along with the shlokas, we will understand what I actually wanted to say. So, Ramayana is very special because it has many lessons in it. Like from different point of views, we can collect many lessons in Ramayana. It is a very special uh, itihasa. Like these three stories itself we'll understand now. Okay. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 17. यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Okay? So till 16th verse, Krishna was saying that how can you come to a platform where you can do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, herein, actually, Krishna is mentioning that once you attain that level of Nishkama Karma Yoga, actually there is no prescribed duty only for you. Like when you become a yogi, you don't have a prescribed duty. But for whom there is no prescribed duty, who has realized his self, right? And who is satisfied in the self alone, like that. So when we speak about self, what is the self? The self means your atma, right? Your soul, your spirit soul. Knowing that you are not this body, but the spirit soul who is pervading all through this body, who is the all pervading consciousness, that is actually knowing yourself. That is self realization. Okay, here the word used is self realization, not self knowing. We know that we are the soul, we are spirit soul. We have not realized it yet, right? So, self realization means realizing that you are not this body, but you are spirit soul. Now, tell me one thing, if you realize your real identity as a spirit soul who is eternally a servant of Krishna, how can you have any prescribed duties to perform in this world which is concerned with the body? Right? There is no prescribed duty for such a person who has realized his self. Somebody who is self realized and who takes pleasure in himself, in his eternal identity as a spirit soul, as part and parcel of Krishna, he has no duty to perform in this world. That is what Krishna is speaking here, right? But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. I think so you understand this, right? So for a person who is self-realized and he knows that he is not this body, he is spirit soul, he has nothing to perform in this world. He has already attained perfection. That is the idea. Naiva tasya kritena artho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarvabhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashrayah. A self realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Okay. Now, here, like Krishna is saying a couple of things. He is making actually 5 points here. Okay. He is telling that such a person has no obligation to do any prescribed actions. We discussed that already. Why it is not there? Because he has already attained his goal. He is already self-realized. He knows that he is on a spiritual platform already. So for him, there is no bodily actions which is required. He is beyond the bodily actions now. That's why there is no prescribed duties for him. The prescribed duties itself is meant for a person to come to a stage of self realization, right? So one who is already self realized, for him what is the need of prescribed duty? There is no prescribed duty for him. Second thing, he has no taste for material pleasures. He has no taste for material pleasures. Why? Because he is already enjoying brahmananda. He is already enjoying the transcendental bliss as a spirit soul, because he is self realized now. Because we are, like Krishna says, Mamaivamsho Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatanaha in the 15th chapter. So Mama Eva Amsho Jivaloke. So all these jivas, we all are Krishna's Amsha only. Krishna says, certainly they are my Amsha only. They are my, what do you call, expansions, or they are my Shakti. Right. So because we are part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna is our supreme father, we have some attributes of Krishna. Krishna is Sachidananda. Similarly, we are Sachidananda. There can be some qualitative difference, but actually we are also Sachidananda Vigraha only. When we say Sachidananda, we have Ananda element already in us. Like we are meant to seek pleasure because that is our very nature. And what is Krishna's nature? It is to give pleasure to others. Like the name Rama. Rama means, he gives pleasure to everyone. So Krishna's nature is such that he gives pleasure, and our nature is such that we seek pleasure. So made for each other. Krishna and us are only made for each other. Nobody in this world is made for us. Krishna is made for each other for us. Like that. So once you already have it, why would you look for some material petty pleasures? We won't look for that. This thing, even Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that all the pleasures in this world is like chewing the chewed again and again. Like for example, all of us have this example, like experience of drinking sugarcane juice, right? How they make sugarcane juice? They crush the sugarcane, take out the juice, and we drink it. Now, for the first time, if you are, chewing the sugarcane, you will get that rust, that liquid you get, and it's very tasty. But what if you are chewing it again and again and again and again and again? It diminishes gradually, and after a point of time, it is over. But still, if you are trying to, enjoy it, that is what our situation is here. We are trying to chew the chewed thing and trying to extract some kind of sensation from it, some kind of happiness from it, but actually it doesn't have that happiness in it anymore, right? All the pleasures in this world is like that. After a point of time we understand that is the very reason why we get bored of things. That is the very reason why we get bored, right? Whatever we do for a prolonged period of time, we get bored with that. Initially we will be having very much taste for something, and after doing it for a long time we feel that, oh, I am bored with it, I want something new. People have people who marry, and they have a spouse and everything already, but still we see that people have this degraded tendency of uh, enjoying with some other woman or some other man, for that fact. Why is it that? Why is it there? It is because that person is bored, right? That will be one of the very primary reasons. Is that there are secondary reasons also, but the very primary reason is boredom. I'm bored because I was searching for something from you, but actually I'm not getting it. The here is like how Maya, Maya binds you. You feel that you are going to get it from the other person, but it is not there also. You feel that rubbing your skin with someone is going to give you pleasure, and it is going to fulfill you, right? It is going to be the ultimate pleasure. But what happens is, when you keep on rubbing, you understand that, oh no, maybe if I rub it with somebody else, I'll get pleasure, right? That is the same thing. It is a very pity form of pleasure. Actually, if you see, it has no real pleasure in it. It is just a, what do you say? It is just illusion that we get pleasure from such acts. There is no pleasure in it, and suffering will also come. That is the second, like, sad part. Like, when you search for happiness and pleasure, nothing wrong, because that is your soul's inherent nature, to search for pleasure. But when you search for pleasure, considering, not considering for somebody else, and not considering for what is right and wrong, and you end up doing things which are wrong for pleasure, you ultimately don't get pleasure also, and you will get pain also together. That is why we are bound here, right? So it is like just chewing the chewed. There is no real sense of pleasure in it. Why? Because, like we discussed, we are fundamentally, we are spirit, and whatever we see around us, outside us, everything is matter, right? Even our body is matter, made up of matter. Fundamentally, we are not supposed to get any pleasure from matter. Why? Because our nature is only is like a spirit. Both are opposite things, right? We are spiritual beings having a material experience. Fundamentally, we are very different from, like, what we are identifying with around us. We are very different. We are totally opposite, like, right? So this material, like, matter is dead, right? It has no life in it. The very life that comes in matter is because of the spirit soul, right? When the spirit soul leaves the body, it becomes dead, and it is as good as a table or a chair. A dead body is as good as a table or a chair which has no life in it. What is making that difference? That difference is in spirit soul, right? So matter in itself is dead. So how can a living force find out pleasure in something which is dead? Fundamentally two opposite things, right? But when we are illusioned by Maya, when we are, in this delusion that I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, when we are deluded by all these things, we end up thinking that there is pleasure in the dead matter. Because the soul, the spirit soul, fundamentally seeks pleasure. It wants Ananda, and it is searching for that. But now it is searching in the wrong place for the right thing. That is why everything that he searches for gets, like, it takes a perverted form. Like the spirit soul, what does the spirit soul actually want? Everyone wants to love and be loved. That is a fundamental need of human society. Everyone wants to love and be loved. But when we are not getting it from somebody else, we direct it towards things. Sometimes animals, sometimes things. I was reading or hearing somewhere that somebody has married to to Eiffel Tower. Can you imagine? Married to Eiffel Tower. Because that is the nature. You want to love someone, and you want to be loved. But when love takes a perverted form, it becomes lust, right? Like in our example, Hanumanji was also in search of Sita, and Ravana was also searching Sita Maya. Both of them were searching Sita Maya, right? But Hanumanji was searching out of love for Sri Ramachandra, and Ravana was searching out of lust for Sita Maya, right? So when we see both of these cases, okay, Ravana is representing each and every one of us who is trying to enjoy this material nature which does not belong to us. It belongs to Sri Ramachandra. It belongs to Narayana. It belongs to Krishna ultimately. We are trying to enjoy his material nature out of lust for getting some enjoyment. I don't care what the other person feels. I don't care what would happen next. Who knows what happens? All these people say karma and all. I don't believe. Jao. आंख बंद करके दूध पियोगे तो कोई नहीं देखेगा क्या आपको? वैसा है, कभी कभार बिल्ली जो रहती है वो आंख बंद कर दूध पीती है, ये सोच के कि मैं आंख बंद करके दूध पीऊंगी तो अंधेरा है ना, तो कोई नहीं देख पाएगा. This is our situation. We are trying to enjoy this world for our selfish needs, exploiting the nature, not considering any other jivas, killing killing other jivas, in fact inferior animals and all. We are killing them for the sake of our sense pleasure. You see, we have this Ravana mentality, which is wrong. And what is the right mentality is that of Hanuman, that everything belongs to Sri Ramachandra. So I have to offer this in service to Sri Ramachandra. That's why Hanuman is trying to unite Sita Devi and Sri Ramachandra, and Ravana is trying to take away Sita Devi from Sri Ramachandra to enjoy for himself. Who was victorious? Hanuman was glorious, and Ravana is still criticized. Doesn't matter. People with Ravana mentality might say that Ravana was great, he is my idol, and all those things. Like even on cars and bikes, also sometimes we see sticker Ravan whom hai, like that, all those things. And major like part goes to Bollywood, who has made this wonderful feat possible of glorifying all these villain characters like that. So we have to extract the message. This is the message. Hanuman was acting on the platform of spiritual realization. How? Eternally he is servant of Sri Ramachandra. That is his nature, constitutional position as a spirit soul. He is acting like that only, which means that he has already transcended prescribed duties, and whatever he is doing is for the sake of Sri Ramachandra, in bhakti, in pure devotional service. That is why I was saying that day. That is why Prabhupada is writing in the purports all the time Krishna consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Why? Because Krishna consciousness or bhakti is the most easiest way for you to revive your spiritual self, to have that spiritual consciousness, to have that fundamental consciousness. This is the highest perfectional stage in someone's self realization. Understand? Okay. So a self-realized man. So we were saying that there is no obligation to do any prescribed duty, no taste for material pleasure. Why? Because he is already tasting something very beautiful, something very nectarian, right? Just like in previous classes also we discussed, like in the second chapter that Shloka came, where it was say that param drishtva nivartate. When you get a higher taste, you can easily get rid of the lower tendencies. So that is the reason. Third is there is no purpose or gain in performing such actions. For him, like on a personal level speaking, like in our case, if we take Jatayu, for example, Jatayu, what personal gain did Jatayu gain? Was he fighting with Ravana out of some personal gain? No, he was acting on as a matter of duty, that she does not belong to Ravana. Ravana is kidnapping her, so I must protect her. Second, she is whose consort? Sri Ramachandra. Sri Ramachandra is the Lord of my life, and I have to do it. So even at that ripe old age, when he is awaiting death, at that point also he is ready to get up and fight with a person who is very much powerful than him. Why? Because he has no selfish motive for himself. He is already self realized. That is the idea. So, a person who is self realized who has no purpose or gain in performing such actions. No purpose or gain. When we say purpose and gain, it means material for himself, right? From his perspective. So if he is self realized, there is no material gain in performing some material activities. He doesn't want anything from it. So there is no purpose for him to gain. Fourth is no reason for not performing such work too. See, what happens is that people, at times, they don't have a clear picture of what Krishna is saying or the Shastras are saying, and they do Markata Vairagya, like, renunciation of a monkey, you say. People want to run away from things, so they use Shastras as a way to get out. They would say that, oh, in any case, everything is dead matter. I am spirit only. So, what is the use of doing all these things? I will not do. So Krishna clearly says that no, he has no reason to not perform such work also, which means that he should perform such work. You should not run away from your work, right? For, like, the idea is, just like you have no purpose for doing something, similarly you should have no purpose for not doing something also. नहीं तो फिर still you are attached. Okay, when you say I have no purpose for doing something, so it means that you are detached from doing it. Similarly, if you are, like, for example, अभी दो जन के बारे में बात करते हैं. दो बच्चे थे जो लोग एग्जाम देना चाहते थे. एक बच्चा था, वो ऐसा सोच रहा था कि मैं ये एग्जाम जो है, ये देने का मेरा कोई पर्पस नहीं है, मेरे को फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता है. मैं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कोई था 12th के बाद में JEE का एग्जाम दे रहा था उसको, लेकिन 12th के बाद में CA करने का था. CA तो कॉमर्स का फील्ड हो गया, तो उसको JEE से कुछ मतलब ही नहीं था, तो वो एग्जाम देने का वो सोच रहा था. सो इफ ही सेज दैट आई हैव नथिंग टू डू विद दिस वर्क, एंड फॉर नॉट डूइंग, मतलब, सो आई एम नॉट डूइंग इट. इज इट राइट? इज इट डिटैचमेंट? नो, इट इज नॉट डिटैचमेंट फ्रॉम डूइंग दैट वर्क. इट इज एक्चुअली एन ऑल्टरनेट अटैचमेंट कि मुझे वो नहीं करना है. आप समझ रहे हो? कई बार लोग ये समझ नहीं पाते कि कुछ चीज नहीं करना ही डिटैचमेंट होता है, ऐसे सोचते हैं. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. डिटैचमेंट इज अ वेरी इंटरनल थिंग. तो कुछ नहीं करने का जब मोटिव रहता है ना, वो भी एक तरीके का अटैचमेंट ही है, क्योंकि मैं ये नहीं करना चाहता हूं इसलिए मैं नहीं कर रहा हूं, है ना? वो भी एक अटैचमेंट है. सो डिटैचमेंट मतलब दोनों चीजों से होना चाहिए. उसका करने से भी मेरे को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, नहीं करने से भी कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, लेकिन करना चाहिए, वो मेरा ड्यूटी है. दिस इज डिटैचमेंट. So somebody very beautifully says, he says that detachment is not, getting away from something. No, it is not getting entangled in that thing. It is not about using, like, for example, this mobile phone. If I say that I am detached to this mobile phone, so I won't use it, that is not detachment. Detachment means that this mobile phone is not using you. है ना? आजकल लोग ऐसा हो जाता है कि you should have that right understanding of what detachment is. Detachment is not just about not doing something, but also not being attached for not doing. ये दोनों होना चाहिए, तब जाके detachment बनता है. I hope it is clear. So that's why Krishna says here, no reasons for not performing the work too. If you have a reason for not performing a work, that is also not detachment. Like, I am not doing this work because I don't like it. तो मैं बोलूंगा क्या मैं ये वर्क से डिटैच्ड हूं? नहीं. It is not that you are not detached from that work, you are actually attached to something else, which because of which you don't want to do that work. So detachment means it goes both the ways. You should have no purpose for doing the work, at the same time no purpose for not doing the work. दोनों रहना चाहिए, तब जाकर detachment होता है. Then the last point, no need to depend on any other living being or devatas. So somebody who is self-realized, he is not dependent on anyone, because he don't have any selfish desires to be dependent on someone to get it. He is happy within himself, and he is completely pure. So that is the idea. So one who has spiritual intelligence does not perform prescribed actions with desires, but does them without attachment to results, to set the right examples for others. Right? Krishna will say this in the next verse. So actually here I have explained two verses, this verse and the next verse also. दोनों का mix था जो मैं बोल रहा था. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of the activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment one attains the supreme. So when you work without any attachment, at that point you will attain the supreme. You see, tasmad asaktah satatam. Therefore, without, tasmad means therefore, asaktah means detached. Okay, without attachment. Saktah means attachment, and asaktah means detachment or without being attached. Okay, tasmad asaktah satatam. ठीक है, for the fruits of actions. Okay, constantly. Satatam मतलब हमेशा. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Always sing about me, like the Krishna says. So satatam means always. So tasmad asaktah satatam karyam karma samachara. Okay, one should do karyam. ठीक है, karyam मतलब you have to what do you say, as a duty, it is your karyam. Karma means work, and samachara means you have to do, you have to perform, like that. Karyam karma samachara. So tasmad asaktah satatam karyam karma samachara. Asakto hi acharam karma. Asakto hi, asakta means again detached. asakto hi आचरम. आचरण मतलब क्या होता है? आचरण मतलब करना हो गया. कर्म, कर्म मतलब योर ड्यूटी. So by working dutifully with detachment, that is what it means. Param apnoti purushah. You will attain liberation, or you will attain the Supreme Lord. Right. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. So, in our case, if you see the story of Jatayu, okay, was Jatayu doing something for himself? No, he was not doing anything for himself. So he was actually doing asaktah karma only. He was not attached with what he was doing, right? He was not attached to the results of what. मतलब उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ सोच के नहीं किया. But still he performed his karyam, right? Karyam karma samachara. His duty he did. And because he was detached of the result, actually there was an alternate attachment to Sri Ramachandra. That is the backside of the story, and I'll reconcile कि वो दोनों कैसे एक साथ. So he was started standing from a material point of view and seeing. He was not attached to what he was doing. He was not doing it for himself, but it was his duty to perform that. That's why he performed. And what did he attain? He attained the Supreme. He attained the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He attained Vaikuntha. Sri Ramachandra sent him to Vaikuntha. You see? So, when we say that, but in that case, we have to also understand that the element of bhakti is very important. When he was doing such an act, he was doing it out of love for Sri Ramachandra. So, Srila Prabhupada would say this, that detachment means alternate attachment. Detaching from something means you are alternatively attaching to something else, because that is the nature of the soul. You get attached. But detaching yourself from material things, you have to not get attached to some other material thing, but you have to get attached to the supreme spiritual being, Krishna. When you get attached to Krishna, you automatically get detached to the material things. And that is what the case with Jatayu was. Jatayu was attached to Sri Ramachandra, and that's why he was automatically detached from all the material reactions. And what did he attain? He attained Vaikuntha. He attained the Supreme. That is it. Okay. So at this point, after the 19th verse, Arjuna wonders that सच में ऐसे लोग हैं क्या जो मेरे जैसे थे, and they have performed their duties without attachment, like, and because of karma yoga who got God consciousness. ऐसा कोई है क्या? ऐसा Arjuna wonders, and at that point Krishna says this, कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम आस्थिता जनकादयः लोक संग्रहम एवापि संपश्यन कर्तुम अर्हसि. So Krishna says that, you see, Janaka Adi. Janaka. If you know Janaka Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj was the king of the Mithila province, and he was father of Sita Maya. So that's why Sita Maya is known as Janaki, because she is the daughter of Janaka, like that. So Janaka, Krishna says that Janaka Adi, Janaka and etc. Others like Janaka, they all did the same thing, and by Karma Yoga only they perfected their life, and they had no attachment for whatever they were doing, but they were setting the right example for people, like the Krishna says. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duty. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. एक that अर्जुना को बोल रहे. He was telling that don't think that it is impractical. No, ऐसा नहीं है. There were people who were kings only like you, who perfected their lives by this karma yoga. So like that, if you you have to set example, and you have to educate others how you have to do karma karma in the spirit of renunciation, in the spirit of detachment from the results of the work, right? Next. यद्यद् आचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तद् एव तरो जनः स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तत् अनुवर्तते. यद यद आचरति श्रेष्ठ, जो चीजें, ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, सिमिलरली यद यद मतलब वॉट एवर, ऐसा. यद यद आचरति श्रेष्ठ, जो श्रेष्ठ लोग रहते हैं, जो श्रेष्ठ मतलब बोल सकते हैं ना, विथ लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज एंड यू नो ग्रेट पर्सनालिटीज, लाइक ग्रेट लीडर्स, यू कैन से रिस्पेक्टेबल लीडर करके प्रभुपाद यहाँ पर लिखते हैं. वो लोग जो आचरण करते हैं, यद यद आचरति श्रेष्ठ, वॉट एवर आचरण दे परफॉर्म, वॉट एवर दे डू, तत्तद वो सारा चीज है. तत्तद मतलब दैट सी, दैट एंड दैट अलोन. एवतरो जनः, एंड पीपल फॉलो दैट. जो जन है, कॉमन पीपल, दे विल फॉलो इट. एवतरो, राइट. एव इतरः, इतरः मीन्स कॉमन and janah means people. So certainly the common people, what they will do, sayat pramanam kurute, they consider it to be praman, they consider it to be an example. Sayat pramanam kurute, and considering it to be an example, kurute, they does perform, they do what, lokastat anuvartate, and they follow in your footsteps. Anuvartate. So whatever, so Krishna is saying that whatever a great person, a leader, does, the common people, they follow it, and they set it as an example, and they do that, they copy them. Not copy but follow them. 1 second. ये क्या हो गया? Okay, I've done some mistake, it seems. एक second now. I'll share the screen again. Sorry, something happened. We were at 3.20. I'm so sorry. Okay. So yes, Krishna says here that whatever the great people do, leaders do, common people follow them and set it as example. See, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. That's what it is. It is very simple, and we can see that in this world also. Like many people, they follow others who are very great. That's why many, you know, people idealize. But the sad part is that nowadays people are idealizing all, heroes, heroines, or no, all Bollywood actors and all. That is not a very great idea. That is not what Krishna is speaking here. So in the next sloka, Krishna says, "O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything. nor have I, a need to obtain anything. And yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Krishna is speaking about himself. He says that Name Parthasti Kartavyam. I don't have any Kartavyam. I don't have any, responsibility or prescribed duty. Trishu Lokeshu Kinchana. In these three, planetary systems, I don't have anything to do. And he says that Nanavaptam avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. He says that, but yet I am engaged in, I am standing before you and doing prescribed duties. Why? Because else people will follow me, right? you know uh, O son of Pratha, there is no work which is prescribed for me in all the three planetary systems, nor I am in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. See, this is a very important shloka from the point of view of understanding the nature of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is pure spirit. He has no material tinge with him. That's why he has nothing to do in this material world, actually. But still, he is standing before, Arjuna, and he is speaking. He is becoming a chariot driver of Arjuna, and he sometimes become the messenger and all those things. This is because they are his intimate devotees. That's why he is doing it. And on the other hand, he is also setting an example for people. If he does not do anything, people will follow him because he is the supreme leader, and they'll fall down. But here, something we have to understand very clearly is Krishna is saying that I have nothing to do within this three planetary system, which means he is out of, he is not at all material, and he has nothing to do with this material world, right? That is what it means. And he has nothing to do here, like he has no prescribed duties here. But if you see, people at times says that karm ke bandhan se so Krishna ji bhi nahi bache. There, I was shocked when I came to know that there are some religions or some set of philosophies which say that Krishna is in hell. Why? Because he was stealing butter when he was in Vrindavan. He stole a lot of things. He was doing this. He was doing that. That's why he's in hell. And he conducted the Kurukshetra war, so he's in hell. Karke. Some people, some foolish people, they say this also, and they believe also in all this nonsense. But Krishna is clearly saying here, he is not within the purview of this world. He is not bound by anything. He has nothing to do with this world. That is the Bhagavata of him. But at the same time, we should understand that there is a difference between copying and following. At times, people feel that following and copying are one and the same. No, you cannot copy Krishna, because Krishna is Purna Purushottam Shri Bhagavan. When he does something which is very much, uh, like it seemingly, we feel that it is not dharma. Like for example, he's stealing only, if you take, okay, we feel that it is not right. But he is beyond the codes of this world. He is the writer of the code. He is beyond the codes of law in this world, and that is a different thing. He does it as Leela. It is for the Brajvasis. So we should not try to copy him. Why? Because can we copy Krishna by lifting up Govardhan? If we even lift up a small, 1 floor, 2 floor building, that is also a big deal for us. Nobody can do it. So forget about lifting up Govardhan hill on his pinky finger when he was just 7 years old for 7 days and 7 nights up straight. Is it possible for anyone? No, yeah, it is not possible because he is Bhagavan, right? So we must understand very clearly that the difference, like the Bhagavata of Krishna. So Krishna is mentioning that here indirectly. See, I am not supposed to do anything. I have nothing to do in this world, but still I am standing in front of you. Why? Because I am doing duties. Because yad yad acharati shreshtas, people will follow others who are, shrestha. So that's why I don't want that people would use my example as an excuse of not doing anything. That's why Krishna was. That is what Krishna is speaking here. Okay. So a leader has to teach the public by his own practical behavior. A leader cannot teach people to stop smoking if he himself is smoking. And his teachings should be based on the scriptures. This is very important. The teaching should be based on scriptures. Why? Because in the very first introductory class, we discussed why do we consider scripture as the basis? It is because it is Shabda Praman, which is Apurushaya, which is coming from Krishna, which is coming from God Himself. So it is not something which is man made, so it has no defects. So a leader should act according to the scriptures, because if he is doing mental speculation and creating his own philosophies and doing things, he won't be doing right. Like today we can see there are people who criticize Mahatma Gandhi also, right? Because he was doing according to his own whims and fantasies. He was doing things. Similarly, there are people who are criticizing Nehru. There are people who are, criticizing. Like criticism is there for everyone, because this is the age of Kali. Everyone will criticize anyone else. But the idea, what I want to mention here, is that it is because nobody is perfect, right? Nobody can have a perfect ideology without actually keeping Krishna or scriptures in the base, in the background. It is not possible. That is what I'm trying to say. That is why it is important that the leaders should follow according to the scriptures, right? According to Bhagavad Gita. And he says that, for if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. All the men would follow my path. That Krishna is saying here. So we must understand that, you know we should not refrain from doing our duties. We should not do that. We should not run away from our duties. That is very important. Krishna, by his personal example, he is teaching us that we should not run away. Okay. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put into ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Here you see Krishna uses the word unwanted population, right? I am the person. If you remember, if you can link, actually, there was a shloka in the first chapter, 1.39 to 43. If you refer that, no, there Arjuna uses this. He says that if I kill them, after that, many people would die and widows would be there, paramours would come and steal their women, and the women will be polluted, and when the women is polluted, unwanted population is begotten, and all those things. So Krishna here is actually reconciling the point. If I don't do this and you don't do your prescribed duty, then also unwanted population is going to come there. Aisa. That is how you link both of them, right? So he was actually uh, doing that. And here the main point we have to understand is that the lawmaker is beyond law, and the second thing is following and imitating are two different things. We should not imitate blindly, but we have to follow. Like for example, Shivji was there. Shivji drank poison. So somebody who is following Shivji, he is not going to drink poison, right? Yet there are some people who drink intoxicants, and they say that we are followers of Shivji, that's why we are allowed to do it. This is Bhole's Prasad. People say this. But that is not a real right understanding. Shivji drank, poison, an ocean of poison. Can we even drink a drop of it? We'll die, right? So we must not, superimpose our tendencies and use scriptures and great personalities as a reference to enjoy our lower nature. No, Shivji drank poison, so for that you are drinking like alcohol. How does it make sense? It doesn't make sense at all. So we have to understand that great personalities, we should follow in their footsteps, but we should not try to imitate them, because imitating them can be very dangerous. It can be very, very dangerous. सक्ताः कर्मणि अविद्वांसो यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत कुर्याद् विद्वांस्तथा सक्तश्चिकीर्षुर् लोकसंग्रहम्. As the ignorant performs their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake for leading people on the right path. सो ऑन अ सुपरफिशियल, लाइक ऊपर ऊपर से अगर हम लोग देखेंगे तो बहुत बोथ ऑफ देम आर डूइंग द सेम थिंग, ऐसा लगेगा आपको. द इग्नोरेंट पर्सन हु इज बिहाइंड सेल्फ, what do you say, he wants to seek pleasure, he is also doing the same thing, and the same thing is done by a person who is in self realization. But actually both of them are very different fundamentally, right? Like we discussed, कि Hanuman ji is also in search of Sita Maiya, and Ravana is also in search of Sita Maiya, right? from an external perspective, lusty Ravana and Bhakta Hanuman, they both seem to be doing the same thing, searching for Sita Maya. But you see, the consciousness is different between both of them. There is a lot of difference. So, as the ignorant performs their duty with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. So, you might understand that. So, this was not a correct example for that. I was just using it so that you can understand. Ki at times, we may see people doing, like two people doing the same things, but what really matters is the consciousness with which both of them are approaching their work, right? Somebody who is studying out of fear of not failing and somebody who is studying for getting first rank, they both are studying only, but the purpose is different. For a person who studies, because he wants good marks, and if he gets good marks, his parents would be happy and they would buy him a bicycle. And a person who is studying because if only he studies, he can earn and give back to the family and society. Both of them are studying, both of them are doing one thing only, but one is acting on a platform of desire and the other person is acting on a platform of duty, right? But both are doing one and the same thing only. So similarly, Krishna is saying here, as the ignorant, he might be performing the duties for what? For sense gratification, for results. And a learned may be also doing the same thing. You might feel that both of them are doing the same thing, but the learned would be doing it without attachment, and he would be doing that for leading the people, like that. So that's why we say that in Bhagavad Gita, if we take an outsider's perspective, before Bhagavad Gita also Arjuna was engaged and he came for fighting only. After Bhagavad Gita also he fought only. So what change did Arjuna develop? It was not external, it was internal. It was his consciousness with which he was approaching the fighting that changed. So it is very important to understand that we must always keep check whether if we are developing the consciousness of serving Krishna selflessly. Okay. By doing that, we will get all the benefits of Bhagavad Gita. So here he says, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So here again, it is said that there are two verses in this chapter, 26 and 29. They are going to tell about the same thing itself. So 26 is saying, 26 and 29 are both going to speak about not disturbing the ignorant. The ignorant is doing his work na. Don't interrupt him and don't say that कि अरे ऐसा मत करो ये मत करो कि वह काम ही करना छोड़ देगा ऐसा. So instead you have to engage them in work which is in devotion. That is what Prabhupada writes here. Okay. So, bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant performs material activities and becomes attached to their results, but the wise should not unsettle them. Rather, by personally working with detachment, they should engage them in activity. Okay? And that is how they perfect the life, right? वो कर्म कांडा से लेके आपको पहुंचना पड़ेगा ना वहां पर वापस ऊपर के तरफ जहाँ पे आप निष्काम कर्म पे पहुंचोगे. If you stop doing the work only, stop the work, then how can that be possible? Mataji, it would be good if you mute because a lot of sound is coming. Yeah. So it is very important to inspire even the ignorant. You have to inspire the ignorant. Okay. The ignorant people cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, Lord Krishna advises not to disturb them and simply waste your time. Okay. But the devotees understand the Lord's purpose and approach ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are most beneficial for all. So that is what. So the devotees of Krishna are also kind as Krishna, or even more kind sometimes than Krishna. So they approach them and they try to engage them in the activities of bhakti so that they can purify themselves. That is the idea. That is there in the purport also if you read. Okay. So as not to disturb, so we have already read this. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. ये चीज हम लोग ने पहले क्लास में भी मतलब लास्ट क्लास में भी डिस्क्राइब किया था कि थ्री मोड्स ऑफ मटेरियल नेचर क्या है और वो कैसे काम करता है, एंड हाउ it is making you do some act, and you because of ahankara feel that you are only doing it. So here Krishna says that prakrite kriyamanani, prakrite means this material nature is doing, kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasah, with what? With guna. Gunai karmani, it is done by this karma is it is done by whom? Because of guna. Guna means the three modes of material nature, satogun, rajogun and tamogun, they are doing it. बट अहंकार विमूढ़ आत्मा, विमूढ़ आत्मा विशेष रूपेण जो मूढ़ है, विमूढ़ आत्मा, because of what? Ahankara, because of false ego within him, a vimudha atma, he thinks karta aham iti manyate. वो क्या मानता है? इति मन्यते, क्या मानता है? कर्ता हम, कर्ता अहम. Aham means I in Sanskrit. Karta means the doer. So because of ahankara, the vimudha atma, the deluded soul, he thinks what? Karta aham iti manyate. He thinks that I am doing. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So this we discussed in the last class also, how the three modes of material nature, we are under the influence of three modes of material nature, and because of the influence only how the mind works, and we attain vasanas and samskaras, and then we act accordingly, then again we get entangled in the modes, all those things. And in actuality if you see, the modes are only making you do everything. वो लोग आपको कठपुतले की तरह नचा रहे, three modes. But a person who is bewildered by his own false ego, what does he think? करता अहम इति मन्यते, ही थिंक्स दैट आई एम द डूअर, मैं कर रहा हूँ ये, ऐसा लगता है उसको. अहंकार में आके कोई सारे लोग ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, मैंने ऐसा किया, मैंने वैसा किया, वो लोग अहंकार में आके वो चीज को बोलते हैं, बट दे आर इग्नोरेंट, they are not having perfect knowledge that actually they are not the people who are doing, but they are being controlled by maya through the three modes of material nature. Okay, 28th shloka. तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्म विभागयोः गुण गुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the sense and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. Okay. Then Krishna is saying that one who is intelligent, he would not engage himself in this thing. So Ravana, इधर से हम लोग थोड़ा देखते हैं. Here Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says who is an intelligent person. He says that intelligent person is that person who does not do what? He don't engage in sense and sensory activities. Right? Now you think of Ravana here. What did Ravana do? Out of lust he came. Lust sits where? Lust sits at three places. So that will come in the later part. We'll discuss tomorrow. The story is going to continue. Kal bhi. We'll study with that. But here if you see, he was like, he was that having that sense of, he wanted to sense enjoy, sense gratify, and that's why he was working. He was taking Sita Maya away, right? So is he very intelligent as per Krishna? No, he is not intelligent. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, who knows the absolute truth, who has knowledge, जो ज्ञानी है वो absolute truth को जानता है. O mighty armed, he does not engage himself in senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and the work for fruitive results. तो उसको पता रहता है कि fruitive results में काम क्या होता है और में क्या होता है. So from here we can very clearly say that Ravana was not a very jnani person, because he had no knowledge of the absolute truth, right? So so we must say to others that stop idealizing Ravana, because he was not very intelligent in that way. So we must understand that somebody who is Tattvavid, who is in knowledge, he knows what is the absolute truth, and he knows that he must not engage his senses in sense gratification, and he must not endeavor for sense enjoyments. It is not something which is worthy of our efforts. Right? Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to performers' lack of knowledge. So, this is what I was telling, that 26th shloka and 29th shloka, they both speak about the same thing only, that we must not interrupt, we must not unsettle those people who are ignorant and they are working. So actually it is very inferior form, like अभी तक तो आपको समझ ही गया होगा कि it is actually very inferior. If you work from a spiritual point of view, it is very inferior if you work for fruitive results, because you are getting bound. But still, you must not unsettle someone who is working in that way. And you, instead what you have to do, you have to engage them in Krishna's service. Like for example, like Prabhupada did. Prabhupada, when he went to USA, वो time पे, everybody was, there was hippie culture and people were, naked and they were on the streets. They were eating whatever they get and doing drugs, especially LSD. At that time it was very famous at that point. And after that, they were having sexual relationship with anyone and everyone, like hogs and dogs, they were living there. And from that stage, how did Prabhupada make them into devotees? It is very interesting, right? Prabhupada did not just unsettle them by telling that don't do, don't do, don't do. What did he do? He instead engaged them in the Krishna conscious activities. So we should give them an opportunity to serve Krishna, and ultimately, Krishna is a thief. You know, he is a thief by nature. He is thief. Srila Bilu Mangal Thakur in his Chaurashtakam he writes, व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकूलचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि. He says, Vraja Prasiddham Navanita Chauram Gopangananam cha Dukula Chauram. Next is very important. Aneka Janma Arjita Papa Chauram. He says that you are the best among the thieves. You thief. Throughout all my lifetime, so many lifetimes have passed by. I was very busy in accumulating all the sins I have done. And what did you do? Aneka Janma Arjita Papa Chauram. You took it away. You know, you have stole it away. So Krishna is a very beautiful thief. If you invite him to your heart, he'll come into your heart and he'll steal away all the sins that you have done. All the sinful reactions he will take away. Like that. So when you engage somebody in the service of the Lord, Krishna would, take away, dhire, 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 karke, all the sins he will take away. The sinful propensity he will take away. He'll change your costume. He'll change your hairstyle. He'll give you new attires. And after that, you will become a devotee, helpless devotee. That is what happens. So instead, we have to engage them in the service of the Lord. We should not unsettle them and, make them just don't do. ऐसा नहीं करना. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशेर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So you see, again, Krishna says here, towards the end of the discussion, Krishna is saying that you give your results to me. Don't think that you are working. Give it to me. This is devotion. This is bhakti. This is what Hanumanji did in the story. If you see, what did Hanumanji do? He did everything for the pleasure of Lord Sri Rama. He was not doing anything for himself. What was he saying all the time? I am the most inferior among the servitors of Sri Ramachandra. That is what he considers for himself. That is his humility. Right? But if you mock Sri Ramachandra, I will burn down Lanka, which is the city of gold. I won't hesitate to do that. If you consider Sri Ramachandra inferior or the servitors of Sri Ramachandra inferior, I also know to use my tail and sit above your asan and order to you. You see, it is a contrast actually. Hanumanji is so humble when he says that I am the most inferior among the Vanaras. When we know that he is not, he is the strongest, but still he is saying that. You see, it is his humility. But at the same time, he also knows to teach Ravana a good lesson, sitting above him, telling him that a Vanara is more, you know, respectable than you, has a high position than you, because he is a servant of Sri Ramachandra. That is what matters. That is what he is teaching us, right? So he was, you see, he was using his anger and everything for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra. And that is this shloka, what Bhagavan is saying here. Like, Mai Sarvani Karmani. Therefore, Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me. Okay, ऐसे ही नहीं, with full knowledge of me. This is also very important. You should know about yourself and you should know about Krishna also. Right? For knowing Krishna, we are studying Bhagavad Gita. And you have to renounce your work and give it to him. Okay. With full knowledge of me, without desires for profit. You should not have any desire for profit for yourself, and without proprietorship कि मैंने किया है वो नहीं होना चाहिए आपको. And free from lethargy, fight. That is what it. Why is he saying fight? Because he is saying Arjuna to do his prescribed duty. So Arjuna's prescribed duty is to fight. So Krishna is giving the highest principle here. He is saying that fight for me, fight out of love. Like Krishna has come to the level of bhakti here. Come for fight for me. When you fight for Krishna, it is out of love. So that is what Hanumanji did there. And on the contrary, there was Ravana, who was totally opposite. He was ignorant. He was doing everything for himself. He was having that proprietorship also, and he was doing it for his own, like, pity pleasure. But you see who came at the end, who was killed. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunction and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. So without envy is very important here. Envy ke bina. You should not have envy against Krishna. Many people are envious of Krishna. They don't want to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God. How can they surrender their work unto Him? And if you don't surrender your work unto Him, you will never go back. You see, because Krishna is Kaivalyapati. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayam Kara. Tvam eko dahyamananam apavargosi samskrute. Tvam adhyah purusha sakshad ishvara prakrite para maya vyudasya chikshaktya kaivalyasthita atmani. Arjuna says, Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayam Kara. This bhakta, this devotee is going through, like, make me abhaya, devoid of fear. Abhayam Kara. Tvam eko dahyamananam. You alone can save us from this burning material life. Apavargo se samshrute, and give us moksha. Like, take us out of this samsara. Tvam adyah purusha sakshat. You are the first original personality of Godhead. Ishvaraha prakrite para, and you are beyond this material nature. Maya vyudasya chikshaktya kaivalya sthita atmani. You are not deluded by Maya. And kaivalya sthita atmani. And you have kaivalya with you. You give that to the devotees. And with kaivalya, you get out of this material bondage. So here we can understand, reconcile that shloka also, where Krishna says that I have nothing to do with this world. Yeah, Krishna is Kaivalyapati. He gives Kaivalyas to others. So how can he be bound in this world? That is the idea. So we must give everything that we have for the sake of Krishna. So that is the idea of this particular shloka. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Congratulations, you don't come under this category. Right? You people don't come under this category. Congrats to all of you. Because it is clearly said that, but those who, out of envy, I suppose that you are not envious of Krishna, else why would you uh, try to, like, enthusiastically come and hear about Krishna? out of, so you don't have any envy, and you are not disregarding the teaching, you are following the teaching, okay, regularly. So, and following regularly is also important, that is what Krishna says here. And so you are not be fooled, and you will attain perfection one day. That is the idea. So I think we may stop here. Yeah, we may stop here for today, and tomorrow we'll finish the chapter 3. Hare Krishna. If you have any doubts, you may. We are already 5 minutes about time. Sorry, but yeah, if you have any doubts, you may ask. And the stories that we discussed today are going to be there tomorrow also. Like, we are going to use it throughout the entire chapter. Yeah. Okay, Mataji, you may unmute yourself and ask if you have any doubts, or else we may.
No question, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
No doubt, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
No doubt, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.